This video is for the factoring basic trinomials notes. So what we're looking at today is trinomials where the a value equals 1. So the first method we're going to use is the factor method. Okay, it says factor the following trinomial, x squared minus 2x minus 63. So the a value is always the coefficient that's here in front of the x squared variable. So our first step is, what are the factors of the last term, which is negative 63, that subtract to give the coefficient of the middle term, which is negative 2. So we want to know what two numbers we can multiply together that'll give us negative 63, that when we subtract them will give us a negative 2. So I've got a factor chart here. So factors of 63. We've got 1 and negative 63, and if I subtract these two numbers, I get a negative 62. I can have negative 1 and positive 63. If I subtract those, I get 62. 3 and negative 21. So 3 times negative 21 will give me negative 63. If I subtract those two values, I get a negative 18. I could flip it and do negative 3 and positive 21. If I subtract those, I get a positive 18. I can do a 7 and a negative 9. If I subtract those, I get a negative 2. And then I can flip that again and do negative 7 and positive 9. And if I subtract those, I get a positive 2. So we've got to pick the factors that'll work for us. And so if I look here at the 7 and the negative 9, when I, sorry, it froze, subtract them, there's that negative 2 that I need. So those are going to be my factors. 7 and negative 9. And I say subtract, it's really, we're talking about 7 minus 9. So you're really adding a negative number. So it's a little, the wording is kind of backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the factors in the form x plus a and then x plus b. So that would be x plus 7 and then x plus a negative 9, but we don't like this plus negative stuff, so we're going to do it x plus 7 and x minus 9. And then you can check your work. And so how we do that is when we were multiplying polynomials, we use the FOIL method, we use the array method, any of those will work. So x times x is x squared, x times negative 9 is negative 9x, 7 times x is a positive 7x, 7 times a negative 9 is a negative 63. If I combine like terms here, negative 9x and positive 7x give me negative 2x. And so I can see by working backwards the other way, I come out with what I started with. Okay, so factors of 20, that when I subtract them, I get 12. So we could do the first one, you know, always 20 times 1. You always check that. 20 times 1. Well, 20 minus 1 doesn't give me a 12. Or 20 plus 1, sorry, doesn't give me a 12. We could do 10 times 2. 10 times 2 gives me 20. And then if I do 10 plus 2, that gives me a 12, and those are the two numbers that I'm looking for. So here's my two factors. So x plus 10, x plus 2. Okay, here we're looking for a negative 20, so we can kind of look at the same stuff here. If I do a positive 10 times a negative 2, 10 times negative 2 equals negative 20. And then 10 plus a negative 2 gives me a positive 8. There's my two factors. So x plus 10 and x minus 2. And again, you can always check yourself by working backwards, by factoring those back out, multiplying them back out. All right, here we've got 15, so the factors of 15. Let's start with 5 and 3. 5 times 3 gives me the 15. 5 plus 3 gives me an 8. Right off the bat, I've got my two factors I need. So x plus 5, x plus 3. All right, our second method that we're going to use is called the box method. So we're going to factor x squared plus x minus 12. It says enter the squared term in the first box and the constant term in the last box. So we're going to put x squared here, and we're going to put negative 12 here. Determine the factors of the constant term that will subtract to give the coefficient of the middle term. So what I can do here right off the bat, I know this is going to be an x. I know this is going to be an x because x times x gives me x12. So now I got to figure out two numbers that I can multiply to get negative 12. Okay, so I've got 3 times 4 will give me a positive 12. So if we switch around, we do 3 times a negative 4. That gives me the negative 12 that I need. But remember, when we add them together, so 3 plus negative 4, I have to get a positive 1. So remember that invisible math. This gives me a negative 1. So if I flip them and I do a positive 4 times a negative 3, that still gives me that negative 12. But if I add them, 4 plus negative 3 is how I get that 1. So those are my two factors, 4 and 3. 4 and negative 3, sorry. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. 4 times x is 4x. And so my factors here are what is along the side. So again, it's kind of backwards from when we use the array to multiply these out. X plus 4, x minus 3. And if I go through the process and multiply these two together, x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. If we combine like terms, x squared, negative 3x plus 4x is x, and then minus 12.